People believe Bitcoin is extraordinarily volatile, orders of magnitude more volatile than stocks, but the data doesn't lie. It no longer is. And the reason for that is it's been hugely de-risked. We've moved government regulation risk, liquidity risk, ETF adoption risk, a bunch of technical risk. It's been hugely de-risked, and that's reflected in the market. We think we'll set new all-time highs next year, driven by institutional demand, so price will go up. We think volatility will be down. It'll be less volatile than NVIDIA. We think correlations will be down. The combination of good returns, lower volatility, and lower correlations is magic for portfolio allocators. It's magic for institutional investors. So we think crypto is just going to be a great asset for portfolios in 2026.
Hougan's central claim is simple but controversial. The 4-year halving cycle is not a law of nature. It was never divinely ordained, and it only existed because certain conditions made it relevant. Those conditions have changed. In Bitcoin's early years, halvings had an outsized impact because supply dynamics dominated price action. Liquidity was thin, institutions were absent, and miners played a disproportionate role in shaping market behavior. A sudden reduction in new supply in that environment had dramatic effects. Today, those factors matter far less. Bitcoin's issuance is widely known, fully priced in, and trivial compared to the scale of institutional flows.
Please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. You can also check out our other videos on cryptocurrencies and the overall digital asset space and drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks and enjoy the video.
Look, the 4-year cycle is a dead man walking. It's gone, it just doesn't know it yet. It's being replaced by a 10-year grind higher. And the simple reason was what Ryan said. The factors that drove the 4-year halving are no longer that important. What's important is regulatory progress, institutional adoption, etc. The 4-year cycle is not like a law passed down from God. It doesn't need to happen. It happened because of specific reasons. Those reasons are no longer relevant. And we have much bigger forces in institutional demand, regulatory progress, the debasement trade, government spending. Those matter more than Bitcoin halving at this point. And so we think, regardless of what happens this year, I don't want to break this cycle the wrong way, which is what Ryan said we're doing. I think next year is a positive year. It's an up year. And that's why the second half of this prediction is we'll set new all-time highs. First is look at that chart. Bitcoin's in green. It's already calmer than NVIDIA. One of my favorite things about crypto is things that people believe are true because they used to be true, but are no longer true. I think there's a lot of alpha in sort of exploiting that anchoring bias. People believe that Bitcoin is used by criminals, no longer true, was true, no longer true. There's alpha in that. People believe that Bitcoin is not held by institutions, was true. Today, Harvard, the Abu Dhabi Sovereign Wealth Fund, other institutions all own Bitcoin. People believe Bitcoin is extraordinarily volatile, orders of magnitude more volatile than stocks, but the data doesn't lie. It no longer is. And the reason for that is it's been hugely de-risked. We've moved government regulation risk, liquidity risk, ETF adoption risk, a bunch of technical risk. It's been hugely de-risked, and that's reflected in the market. So we think there's a lot of alpha in realizing that. And then the other thing I would say is just objectively from where I sit, 2026 has more risk in AI than it does in Bitcoin, right? There are all these concerns about the AI bubble, of circular revenue. There's pushback from Bernie Sanders is saying we should ban AI or something, right? There's more risk in that ecosystem than when I look at Bitcoin and ask myself, will the government print more money next year? Yes. Will liquidity conditions become looser? Absolutely. Will institutions keep buying Bitcoin? Yes. I just don't see as much risk in this ecosystem as I do in the AI ecosystem. I'm bullish on AI, but there's a lot of debate, discussion, concern, CDS rates spiking on Oracle debt. I don't see that in Bitcoin. I just see sort of slow positive trends of regulatory progress, raising concern about the debasement trade, institutional adoption. I don't know. I think this trend that we've seen the last few months is just going to continue, and feel pretty strongly about this prediction. I think as you look into 2026, the factors that matter most for Bitcoin, there are macro factors that matter, that influence the stock market. What happens at the Fed level matters, what happens from liquidity matters. But I think what matters more is regulatory progress, institutional adoption, and crypto specific factors. I think those will be relatively more important in 2026 than in 2025. That's the chart of correlations. You can see they're relatively elevated versus historical norms. I don't think we'll go back to zero, but I think we could be closer to 0.3 or 0.25 than we are to 0.4. The thing that's important about this, LG, is that you have to stack our predictions, right? You're looking at, we think we'll set new all-time highs next year, driven by institutional demand. So price will go up. We think volatility will be down. It'll be less volatile than NVIDIA. We think correlations will be down. The combination of good returns, lower volatility, and lower correlations is magic for portfolio allocators. It's magic for institutional investors. So we think crypto is just going to be a great asset for portfolios in 2026 because it's going to have those three characteristics. They do fear missing out on the next decade in crypto. I mean, they missed out. Right? Price went from $1 to $100,000 and they didn't allocate, in part because they couldn't, in part because they didn't understand it, in part because there were all this reputational risk. They missed out. I think they sort of are FOMOing in. The nuance that links that view with what Ryan said is that their view of missing out is measured over the next decade. Like they see another 10 or 20x. If you see another 10 or 20x, who cares if it's down 20 or 30%, right? Like that's why you see these persistent inflows into things like BSOL or things like BITW or BITB, even when the price goes down, because those 20 or 30% pullbacks are painful to those of us who have been in the industry. But to them, they're like, who cares? Did you care when Bitcoin fell from $1,000 to $300? It was like painful. But people were betting this thing's going to 100K, so they were buying, right? The long term. The same thing is happening. So yes, they fear they're missing out. Yes, but their fear is that they're missing out over a decade-long trend. And that's why we see that persistent buying that Ryan is talking about.
A major pillar of Hougan's bullish outlook is stablecoins. He describes them as one of the fastest growing areas in all of technology, with real-world utility that is impossible to ignore. Stablecoins enable instant, near-free global payments. They provide a lifeline for people living in high-inflation economies by allowing them to preserve purchasing power in dollar-denominated assets. Hougan notes that in countries like Argentina, Nigeria, and Mexico, stablecoin adoption is exploding. The growth potential is staggering. Markets worth tens of billions of dollars today could easily double within a year. Yet valuations remain compressed, largely because many investors still underestimate crypto's real-world integration. However, Hougan also anticipates backlash. As stablecoins grow large enough to matter, governments, particularly in emerging markets, will push back.
If you think about tech broadly, what are the areas that are growing the fastest? AI is growing extraordinarily fast, and crypto is growing extraordinarily fast. I mean, this is just a market where the underlying industry is growing at something like 60% per year on average. It's a great market to build a company in. And then the reason specifically we think it will continue, or at least I think it will continue, or maybe even accelerate in 2026, is we're seeing crypto now integrate into the real world, right? We're seeing the growth of stablecoins. We're seeing the growth of tokenization. We have Coinbase launching prediction markets. We have Figure doing a lot of very interesting things. We have Circle doing extraordinarily well. Those are all trends that I'm just very confident in will grow significantly. We could see stablecoins double next year, right? That wouldn't surprise people. What other industry are you talking about 10, 20, $30 billion companies where their underlying market could double next year, right? They're just, the world discounts this for some reason that's not clear to me. They're like, crypto, somehow we don't believe it. Scott Bessent is telling you that the stablecoin market will 12x over the next 3 years. Much of that value will accrue to companies building stablecoins. They're part of, like, it's just not that, this is not an extraordinary prediction. This is one of the fastest growing areas of tech. Investors will reward it. Valuations are still compressed. we're pretty bullish. I think it's just a good story. Everyone talks about stablecoins being so good, which they are. They make payments cheaper. They make the world global. You can move money at an instant for a fee of a penny. For the poor people who are in countries with high inflation, they can escape that into the relative stability of the US dollar. That is a great story. But the flip side of that story is if you're a government in one of those countries experiencing high inflation, the last thing you want is people escaping your currency into the relative stability of the US dollar. And I think what we're pointing at in this prediction is that stablecoins are now big enough to matter. And there are countries that have high inflation. Nigeria is one of them, where stablecoin use is extremely high. And we're starting to see pushback from folks like the IMF, from folks like European leaders, and indeed from these emerging market countries that are sort of ringing the alarm that, hey, wait, maybe we don't want to dollarize the world on stablecoins. So we're very bullish on stablecoins. I think nothing stops the train. But I do think next year is the year that you'll have the reactionary pushback from a few countries that say, hold on, you're messing with our economy, right? And I think they'll be blamed for destabilizing at least one emerging market currency next year. And they'll have to push through that sort of negative story. Almost in all of these emerging market countries with high inflation, there are local apps that make it very easy to switch from the local currency into stablecoins, right? And then they execute the transaction on local currency markets. You're seeing these have extraordinary growth rates in a lot of countries, in Argentina, in Mexico, in Nigeria. There are all these really interesting companies that do this. And I suspect that some of them will get pushback. It's not just Coinbase, they're local sort of entrepreneurial efforts because there's so much demand. If you're in a place where your currency is devaluing by 25% a year, it's really urgent to get out of that, right? That is really painful. You feel that on a monthly basis. And so it is a huge use case. Of course, stablecoins won't be to blame. The real thing to be blamed is people mismanaging their economies, right? And abusing their currency. But they won't blame that because that would be blaming themselves. They will instead blame this external force, which is stablecoins. You have the chair of the SEC saying all US stocks will be tokenized in the next couple of years. You have every major asset manager moving in this direction. You have other regulators in other markets pushing people there. The last piece of the puzzle to sort of guarantee that future is this fundamental piece of market infrastructure legislation. Because right now, sort of crypto's pro-regulatory status is a castle built to some degree on sand, right? It's built on the fact that we have a pro-crypto SEC, pro-crypto regulators. But in a new administration, if we get a violent swing in American politics, you could have a return of anti-crypto regulators. And the largest institutions aren't going to build for this blockchain-based future until it's a foundation of concrete. Right? That's what they need to build. The Clarity Act will have that. If it passes, it's all systems go on our blockchain-based financial future. And that means you're talking about markets measured in hundreds of trillions of dollars. And from my perspective, the two leading blockchains that support that, there's no way they don't go to a new all-time high. If we have this all clear signal that look, hundreds of trillions of dollars are moving on chain, then the current valuation of something like Solana sitting well below $100 billion looks crazy, right? If it doesn't happen, if we're still in this sort of regulatory muck, then I think it's less certain. There are worlds in which these assets get to new all-time highs, and there's worlds in which they sort of suffer. And I'm not saying if we don't get the Clarity Act, it's a terrible year. I'm just saying if we do get the Clarity Act, I think the market is too large and too certain to hold these leading assets down for long.
Oh, is that supposed to happen soon, right? Isn't that at the top of the list?
What does soon mean in Washington, LG? Look, it was supposed to happen this year. David Sachs, the crypto czar, just put out a tweet yesterday that said he thinks it will happen in January. I think he put out that tweet in part because crypto was worried it was never going to happen. The US government might shut. There's so many unknowns. Never bet on anything certain in Washington, except that Josh Shapiro is undervalued on the Polymarket.
Hougan sees tokenization as the end game. When the chair of the SEC states that all U.S. stocks could be tokenized within a few years, it signals a fundamental shift in financial infrastructure. Asset managers are preparing for this future, but there is one missing piece: durable legislation. Without it, crypto's regulatory progress rests on political goodwill rather than legal certainty. Hougan identifies the passage of comprehensive market structure legislation, such as the Clarity Act, as the critical catalyst. If it passes, institutions will build with confidence, unlocking markets measured in the hundreds of trillions of dollars. In that scenario, the current valuations of leading blockchains look absurdly low. Assets like Solana, still under $100 billion in market capitalization, would struggle to remain suppressed in a world where global capital markets move on-chain.